I'm not your responsibility after I leave you. Listen to me for a minute. You all are justifying wrong things in the world. You all are not at all worried about what future holds for this world. There's a country which is pursuing a unipolar world. It is pursuing dictatorial new colonialism, and you guys are supporting it. And there's a president, behind him there's a team. Look at your defense secretary's past. Look at his own character.
Not
you
mine,
guys
sir. I'm
are pursuing. Listen to me. This ship was unammunition. If you and Admiral Vora can justify that an unammunitioned ship returning from Indian exercise without telling the Indian government, you shoot it down, you are undermining India's, whatever we call it, India's image, India's strength, India as a nation. You're undermining us.
I think that
you must understand military minds across the world.
May I come in for a minute?
Arnab, these guys do not understand.
May I come in and I'll push the envelope. One minute. Just a minute. Please let me. I understand, sir. Let me intervene. Thank you. One minute. We got limited time. See, the point is, Deepak Vora, let me give a certain example. General Bakshi, please give me a minute. You know the Americans want St. Martin Island, and on that basis was the basis for the regime change operation which happened there. Tomorrow, they will put a whole lot of submarines in St. Martin Island, or maybe 50 kilometers away from it, and we'll say it's perfectly all right. And then I can turn it around and say that tomorrow, if this incident happened in the English Channel, would the British say it's perfectly all right? Tomorrow, if this happened 200 kilometers from Hong Kong, would the Chinese say it's perfectly all right? They wouldn't. Because power means something, Deepak Voraji, only when power can be projected. If we say we are powerful, but we don't project our power in a way that the Americans consider it, think twice before sending a submarine on a torpedo mission 300 kilometers from Kanyakumari. Power projection is something that we also ought to do, I guess.
No one has any dispute with that, sir. Of course we have to project our power. You do recall that during Operation Sindoor, our Navy was running around off the coast of Karachi. The Turks had a ship which ran away. They were scared that they would be sick. That's what power projection is all about,
sir. No, but sir, would they do this with the Chinese? Would they do this would they even do this in the English Channel?
Of course they would do it, sir. The French are delighted with what they are doing to the Iranians. So are the British. They are very happy. So what should we do? We should just roll over and say, do what you want in the Indian Ocean.
Sink that Turkish ship.
No, Arnab, how do you know that India and the US are not having a strategic cooperation at this point?
Can I also please come in?
How do you
know we have?
If you see...
I'm sorry, equally I can ask you, how do you know? 1 minute, you're talking about something very big. Please let me tell you the serious things you should not talk. Saurabh, are you suggesting that we are colluding with the Americans to torpedo our Iranian ship returning from an invitation to India? No, I think that's wrong.
We are standing against terrorism. We are standing against countries which are fomenting, enriching nuclear uranium, which are
this is very serious.
Nuclear weapons.
So war is at India's doorstep.
India.
It's not Indian Ocean. It's India's doorstep. Niranjan is Indian Ocean. Even Mauritius and Maldives is Indian Ocean.
Position, which is the right position. The right position is the position that India has taken, that it will stay silent, but it knows where its friends are. And that message is loud and clear.
What is the message? Sorry, I haven't got this. Arnab, can I come in?
Yeah, please.
Arnab, can I come in?
Sir, you can, sir.
You know, Arnab, America in the last few years has staged colored revolutions in Sri Lanka. It staged colored revolutions in Bangladesh. It has done a colored revolution in Nepal. It is threatening to create a cookie land out of Mizoram and Manipur. Right? We gave it $1 billion. क्या हो रहा है? जा रहा है कि नहीं?
जा रहा है सर.
We gave it $1 billion for the GE 404 engines.
Next.
Right? And after 2 years, we had gotten 2.
Directors.
When our Prime Minister spoke to them, we got another 5. We have another 90 to get. I'm sorry, the way, you can talk of the defining partnership of the 21st century for all that you want. Saurabh, Shukla, we military men can see a threat when it is coming. And we don't join the cheerleading gang
when the threat
of
is
the
there,
opposite side. We know how to fight.
When in a war
We
situation,
know how to fight. Don't give me that lip. Don't give me that lip about... Don't give me that lip about joining the cheerleading gang.
An enemy country in territorial
I'm not
waters.
one of those chorus girls.
That's an international law. I'm not. I'm saying
It should have. If they... Okay, let me answer that.
India
We
would have
heard
done
you.
the same
Let
thing
me answer
when
that.
it was in war with
If they had
Pakistan,
shown us
if
the
Pakistani
courtesy
ship
of
was
letting
coming
it go another 200
waters
kilometers
from an
out into
exercise,
the Arabian
India
Sea,
or any country would have done the same
then
thing.
they would
I
have
don't
shown
see
us
anything
that
wrong in that.
courtesy
As far
of
as
friends
India
which
not
they claim to be.
I have my doubts.
I know you are saying in the United States, but I don't expect you to be a cheerleader of the next colonial power.
Sir, I'm purely telling you on what the international law stands. Any country, even if you would have been a general commanding an army, and
I am telling you, sir,
given a choice
that
of
apart from
the enemy,
international
if they were
laws,
international water journal,
apart from international laws, I know the international law, man. Don't tell me about the the law of the seas. I know them very well.
In international water.
Now, excuse me. Excuse me.
Next package. Things are
Saurabh, you
very...
must listen.
Wait a
You
minute.
must listen. You must listen. Well, I'm trying to tell you, Saurabh, that if the Americans were friendly, if they had some courtesy, some courteous feelings towards us and our feelings, they would have done this killing well off into the Arabian Sea. Doing it just outside your coast is trying to make us complicit.
Sir, maybe the choice wasn't there.
Trying to make us complicit. It is a lack of courtesy. It is a lack of respect. It is a lack of courtesy. It is a lack of respect. It is trying to treat you like a bloody colony. And damn you, we are not a colony. 200 years, we've had enough. We've had enough. India is a nuclear power. India is a space power of consequence. And we are not pushovers, we are not pansy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is... ladies and
a small
gentlemen...
interjection.
Mr. General Dayal, please, I'm closing comments here.
Arnab,
Yes, sir.
you want to fight terrorism. You don't want to touch Pakistan. America doesn't want to touch the fountainhead where entire terrorism concept, everything was born, and still also promoting everything. You don't want to touch it. You want to finish nuclear power. You can't touch North Korea. This reason is not about nuclear or anything. This is about controlling the world, because you'll control everything. You'll control all the routes, all the logistics, absolutely.
No,
this is your game plan.
I think this time...
and we will suffer in times to come. This is what we feel as soldiers. Because we've read Second World War very thoroughly.
It's a very, let me put it this way, with everyone on. It's a very sensitive time. India's geopolitical experts are already doing their calculations and possibly measuring what the long-term advantage of this chaotic situation could be for us. There are some people who expect that perhaps if this turns against Pakistan, then the Americans will also stay silent if we were to do something to Pakistan. I'm only suggesting. Or if naturally the series of events in Pakistan is such that it gets balkanized, and that happens at this point of time when Pakistan is already in trouble, then this could be for our geopolitical advantage. Nevertheless, the point is, as people noticed after Mike Carney spoke, moment Mike Carney gave it back in Davos to Trump, Trump began to speak with greater respect about Canada. Trump is basically, therefore, understands power and power projection. Maybe we can do it backroom, maybe we can do it clandestinely, but maybe we should say to the Americans that this could have been handled much better, much better. I hope to get you visuals from Gaul, where we are speaking to our stringers to get latest footage of that story. The big headline, the number one headline today, the war is right at our doorstep. Right at our doorstep. 373 kilometers from Kanyakumari to be exact. Meanwhile, the total death toll in Iran has crossed 1,000 on the 5th day of this escalating war. Joint US-Israeli airstrikes continue to hammer targets across Iran, from nuclear facilities to Iranian infrastructure. But Iran continues to hit back.
The death toll in Iran has crossed 1,000 on day 5 of the war. From nuclear facilities to universities, nothing inside Iran is safe from airstrikes. Take a look at the University of Urmia. It has turned into rubble following airstrikes in the region. Although the IAEA has now assured that there is no radiation leakage from Isfahan nuclear site, but this could change very quickly, because Iran is under fire from all the sides. Plumes of smoke rising across the skyline throughout the day. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps becoming more aggressive, both offensively and defensively. This video is of Israeli Hermes drone. It was shot down inside Iran's Khurramabad. An Iranian missile also dodged US-Israeli air defense systems before striking its targets. Neither Israel nor Iran show any signs of backing down. Israel struck the residences of Revolutionary Guard officers, the IRGC headquarters, and the buildings where the assembly of experts are meeting in Tehran. Look at how these structures have been completely razed by the airstrikes. In retaliation, the IRGC launched its 17th wave of attacks against the US and Israeli targets. On the political front, the Assembly of Experts is likely to elect the new supreme leader. The frontrunner is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of late Ayatollah Khamenei. According to reports, the announcement of successor is expected soon.
On the strong and polarized debate, I have with me voices from Iran and pro-Iran are Dr. Fuad Izadi, a very well-known professor at the University of Tehran. From Tel Aviv, I'm joined by Ori Goldberg. Now, she is, I'm told, critical of America and Israel. Am I right, Ori?
I am.
Yes. And we have Helen Sari Atstem. I hope I've got the pronunciation right. She's Associate Professor of International Relations at Istanbul Medeniyet University. Thank you very much, Ms. Atstem. Sierra Claire, Foreign Policy Expert from Los Angeles, and Vibhuti Jha, Republican from California. Now, Ori, you are from Tel Aviv, but you're critical of America, right? What do you make of this latest claim that's coming in from the Iranians through a tweet by Larijani that 500 American troops have been killed in the fighting so far? Do you believe this claim?
Not necessarily. I mean, numbers are anyone's game at this moment, and anyone can release any data they want. There's no doubt, at least in my mind, that many more Iranians have been killed than have Israelis and Americans. That's as far as I'm willing to go regarding how certain I am of numerical statistics.
You also know, Helen, this big news today, that an Iranian ship, a frigate, has been sunk in the Indian Ocean, not far from India's territorial waters, a little away, on the edge of Sri Lanka's territorial waters. So the Americans are making it clear that they will target Iranian assets anywhere in the world, not just in the Middle East.
Well, it seems to me that as the operation has already started, they are trying to somehow stop all means of Iran, of the current regime at least, to weaken it, to cut all the vessels that are somehow supporting the existing regime. So this is somehow trying to make Iran bow to the United States and Israel. And if they can succeed in changing the regime, then there won't be any problem, according to their case. Of course, that is not a very reliable story for us, for those people who are living in the region. We see a very big escalation of the tension. Unfortunately, almost all countries, thank God, not Turkey at the moment, and I don't expect, hopefully, I will be true that no attack against Turkey, because it will be a big risk, especially as it's a NATO member. But at the same time, we are feeling the pressure, the tension in the region, as many countries are under fire. This is not something we desired. And I'm sure that in the long run, this is not something beneficial for the United States and Israel either, because at the moment, maybe the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government might be somehow being nourished, let's say, somehow being benefiting from this tension. But in the long run, unfortunately for them, it will bring very negative outcomes. It will bring hatred against the United States and Israel. And I'm not sure whether this is the best scenario for them, as the global South's reaction is somehow favoring Iran and blaming the United States and Israel as the violators of the international law.
How long, Sierra, can America drag this?
Well, I wouldn't use the word drag it on. America, the Secretary of Defense and President Trump have been very clear that we have almost unlimited capability when it comes to Iran. We've already taken out almost all of their military defenses. That you've seen their navies at the bottom of the ocean. So we have unlimited capabilities. We want to wrap this up as quickly as possible, though. And to respond to the previous comments about whether this is good for America, in terms of building hate for America, I don't think it can get any worse than a regime that for 47 years chanted death to America and said we were the great Satan. So there's only an upside here for us.
Ori, what do you think? I mean, you look at it that way? Sierra presents a very optimistic picture?
No, I don't, because this is not, obviously this is perhaps the most unpopular foreign war in American history. A great majority of Americans do not want this war. That's very obvious from all the polling that's coming in. And also in terms of understanding the Middle East, this isn't the United States against Iran. This is the United States demonstrating what it might act like as the global protector of a certain vision of the global order. And so far, it seems like the United States is fully bonded to very much unclear Israeli interests. The United States is willing to launch a regional war that may escalate into a global war because it wanted to defend Israeli unilateral actions. That was admitted by Secretary of State Rubio.
It's also this kind of the kind of rashness, Vibhuti, with which the Americans are moving, and I'm sure the Iranians are also moving very rashly. My concern is, because both sides America needs to wrap this up, Supporters of Trump like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Matt Walsh are now questioning. They're saying this is not in America's war. Tucker Carlson said this is Israel's war. This is not the United States war. And I don't know how long America can continue the war if the people of America are not interested in the war. 43%, according to the Reuters poll, do not agree with Trump's military action. 27% are for it, 30% don't know. 55% of Republicans say they approve the strikes, but 42% in the Republicans say they won't support this if Americans get killed. So, things can turn very quickly, Vibhuti.
They're already turning.
Yes, you are absolutely right in your assessment. Generally, as I have been living in America for the last 40 years, America has a definite exhaustion for multiple wars that America ends up doing.
Yes.
Having said that, we need to also make an assessment of the fact that America and Israel, and I will include India in there, we are the three countries here where we are victims of Islamic terrorism day in and day out. So the question here is very simple. In my definition of things, Arnab, and probably it needs a deeper conversation, what we are seeing is the 21st century version of jihad versus crusade. This is what is, the war is not something new. It has been, humankind has fought wars forever. There are consequences, collateral or otherwise, when we define it in English language, of one kind or the other. There will be damages. And the winner will be the one who will not make a mistake or makes a spectacular move. History is a lesson taught to all of us. It was very interesting observation by a historian that it was truly ironical that Hitler was to make the same mistake that Napoleon made 100 years prior. And that was marching into Russia.
My only point here is, and Vibhuti,
here is,
I think, Vibhuti, I think if I may, I want Helen in on this. I think you're romanticizing this whole idea of this being a battle by America against Islamist terrorism. It's not.
No, it's not against Islamists. I'm not saying, no, wait. Let me correct that.
No.
I'm saying it's not America launching a war against Islamists in Iran. It is a general impression going around right now.
What?
It is between crusaders and jihadis. This, in one form or the other, a religion becomes the key element of a war framework. And as you earlier mentioned, resource, economics, control.
No, but okay, so no, but it's not because Saudi Arabia, Arabia has tied up with Pakistan. Riyadh has been attacked, and Saudi Arabia is against Iran. You can, on the contrary, argue that there is a deep divide in the Muslim world. If the intention is to divide the Muslim world, if the intention, I don't think Trump's intention is to divide the Muslim world, is it? Do you think, Helen, that is a large...
Divided.
Do you think Trump is doing it because he wants to divide the Muslim world? No, I don't think so.
No.
He's doing it for the oil.
I just want to make a point.
Helen,
there is a serious schism. The schism exists between the Shia and Sunnis. That's the important part.
No, he's not making that calculation. Okay, 1 minute. Helen and then Ori. Thank you, Vibhuti. Helen.
Thank you.
Okay, what I see from this side of the world, let's say, is that yes, sometimes the United States is unfortunately benefiting from these sectarian divisions inside the Muslim world. And unfortunately, they've been using this title of democratizing the world and making the world or the region a safer place. These are all nonsense. These are all cover-up stories. They are just using this as cover and in order to reach their economic targets, in order to maximize their national interests. And what comes to the Middle East as the people we have to be very clever, very aware of the fact that we have to be united, not be divided. Whether this is about sectarian, this is about ethnicity, doesn't matter. We have to be united because this should not be the destiny of the Middle East. Even the word itself, the Middle East of whom? Who's middle? Who's west? Who's east? These are all made up concepts by the West, and unfortunately,
but Helen, from our perspective, being non-aligned on all matters is not possible. I'll tell you why. Because when Pakistan sent terrorist jihadis to Kashmir, who targeted Hindu tourists and asked them to read the Kalma, passages from the Quran, and if you could not read, and if you identified a non-Muslim, then you were shot at 1 foot distance in the head. Turkey, which is now talking about humanitarianism, supported the jihadis who killed Hindus. supported the killing of Hindus. Turkey supported the killing of Hindus.
I wouldn't accept
no,
that.
So point is,
I wouldn't accept that.
But it did that.
I am not
but that's what Erdogan did. That's what Erdogan did. You may not like it, but that's what Erdogan did.
I am here to define my own voice as a professor of international relations.
No, I'm just saying because you mentioned Turkey yourself earlier.
To underline that in every religion there might be radicals, and we cannot call any single religion as so and so terrorism. So if I cannot use Christian terrorism as a fact, I cannot use Islamic terrorism as
jihadis, I said jihadis were sent to kill Hindus.
The region
jihadis were sent to kill Hindus.
Unfortunately, by the Westerners for such a long time.
I'm sorry. You're trying to draw the discussion about the U.S. and Iran away from Islam versus Christianity, but you're actually talking about another religious war. What's happening on the Indian subcontinent is not what's happening here, even if there's a religious motivation on the part of Pakistanis or President Erdogan uses religious denomination in order to identify with one country or another. This new war is not about religion. Maybe public perception of it is about, jihad, which, by the way, is not a Shia concept, against crusades, which I doubt President Trump sees himself as. President Trump did not get elected as a religious president. It's true that there are religious fanatics, people who would use religious discourse as cover, and in that sense, I agree, to justify any sort of belligerence. We're hearing reports from the United States about military officers who are describing this as the prequel to Armageddon. But that's not the case here. This is a war that was dictated by power relations. It was dictated by opportunistic understandings of a division of geostrategic power on both sides, not just on the Iranian side or the American side. This is war fought traditionally over the traditional spoils of war.
Ari, I agreed. I myself said that this is not religious. I said a consequence,
exactly right.
An indirect consequence may be that the Muslim world is divided for now, maybe not permanently. But Sierra, I go back to the main issue. See, now if Mujtaba Khamenei is made the supreme leader, say tomorrow, then there is going to be no regime change.
Well, this is interesting. This is a confusion that has been going on since this whole thing started. This is not a regime change war. A regime change may be beneficial for America, and we are supporting the Iranian
people. No, on that.
But in terms of the military aspect, this is about taking out Iran's military capabilities. If there's an Islamic regime tomorrow that doesn't
Sierra, I'll take that with a barrel of salt. Because Pete Hegseth said it was regime change. He said it's nothing to do with democracy, but I run short of time. I'll watch the headline tomorrow to see who the new supreme leader in Iran will be, and then we'll analyze this again. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other side tonight, I'll tell you the impact on India because of oil. I'll talk about the Strait of Hormuz, the impacted countries, and what could happen to our own strategic oil reserves when we are back.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School, Bengaluru.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
अरे टेंशन किस बात की? सेंचुरी प्रोवुड का प्रीमियम प्लस है ना, लो एमिशन है, हाई डेंसिटी है, वाटर रेजिस्टेंट भी, टर्माइट एंड बोरो रेजिस्टेंट भी है। यानी ये है जहां नो टेंशन वहां।
प्रीमियम प्लस बाय सेंचुरी प्रोवुड। चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट, स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
अरे टेंशन किस बात की? सेंचुरी प्रोबुड का प्रीमियम प्लस है ना, लो एमिशन है, हाई डेंसिटी है, वाटर रेजिस्टेंट भी, टर्माइट एंड बोरो रेजिस्टेंट भी है। यानी ये है जहां नो टेंशन वहां।
प्रीमियम प्लस बाय सेंचुरी प्रोबुड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
अरे टेंशन किस बात की? सेंचुरी प्रोबुड का प्रीमियम प्लस है ना, लो एमिशन है, हाई डेंसिटी है, वाटर रेजिस्टेंट भी, टर्माइट एंड बोरो रेजिस्टेंट भी है। यानी ये है जहां नो टेंशन वहां।
प्रीमियम प्लस बाय सेंचुरी प्रोबुड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
अरे टेंशन किस बात की? सेंचुरी प्रोबुड का प्रीमियम प्लस है ना, लो एमिशन है, हाई डेंसिटी है, वाटर रेजिस्टेंट भी, टर्माइट एंड बोरो रेजिस्टेंट भी है। यानी ये है जहां नो टेंशन वहां।
प्रीमियम प्लस बाय सेंचुरी प्रोबुड।
Ladies and gentlemen, the big story, the biggest story, ladies and gentlemen, is that the war is near our coast. 373 kilometers from Kanyakumari to be exact, 40 nautical miles from the port of Gaul in southern tip of Sri Lanka. American submarine has torpedoed an Iranian frigate that was returning from a joint ceremonial exercise in Visakhapatnam. So viewers, I began by saying a while back that the war is right at our doorstep and we were not told about it. The Sri Lankans were not informed. This has become a subject of political debate in Sri Lanka because it happened just so close, just on the edge of their territorial waters. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it would be fair to say that in this new situation, America doesn't care about India's zone of influence in the Indian Ocean. This is therefore going to be very embarrassing here, and I'm sure it's going to be discussed. Ladies and gentlemen, we also saw a visual of a ship. I don't know the name and details, it's not with me yet, but I'll share that with you. But it was blown off in the Strait of Hormuz. So ladies and gentlemen, what is the Strait of Hormuz? The Strait of Hormuz is the lifeline of the global supply chain of crude oil. If you look at the map of the Strait of Hormuz, this small strip where ships pass through accounts for 20 million barrels per day. That is approximately 1/5 of the global oil requirement. Major source countries which pass oil through this route are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Iran, and Iraq. The major recipients are in Asia. 85% of the oil passing through there is supplied to Asia, 15% to the rest of the world. In Asia, the major countries impacted are China, India, Japan, and South Korea. And that is why today, as I'm looking at all these issues, I'll bring the focus on how this could affect us. Now, talking about the LNG supply that passes through the Strait of Hormuz daily, it's around 10 billion cubic feet. That's a lot of LNG. That's 20% of the gas supply. It comes from Qatar and UAE. Again, who buys this LNG? China, India, Taiwan, South Korea, and Pakistan. So all the CNG, LNG that comes to India, the cooking gas, all that, ladies and gentlemen, very many places, the source is also through the Straits of Hormuz. Will there be an impact on India? There will be. A big impact on India's energy supplies, which takes me to the third map today. Since the choking of the Strait of Hormuz, 50% of its crude oil being imported per day, ladies and gentlemen. The Strait of Hormuz if this gets choked, it becomes a major vulnerability for India, because in terms of LNG supply, this is 80% of the LNG that comes through to India comes through this route. So our energy requirements will be majorly affected. Of course, the government says we have enough for quite some time, 25, 30 days I think they're talking about. But what if this goes on for longer? What if gas supply for households, industries, petrol, diesel and gas, will there be price revisions? Will things change? Now, on the other hand, we have oil reserves. Our strategic oil reserves are 5.33 million, and the big oil companies have reserves that can last up to 65 days. What this means is even if the Strait of Hormuz is choked for 2 months, we're all right. It goes beyond 2 months, we'll be in big, big trouble. One point is the alternative, which goes back to Russian oil. So we have to keep our strategic autonomy. Trump may not like it, but Trump starts this war. If the Strait of Hormuz gets impacted, we can use the Russian route for Russian oil imports. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. An alternative to the Strait of Hormuz that presents itself to India is Russia. Oil imports from Russia to India across Primorsk, reaching up to the Mundra port in Gujarat. But again, we will have to find a way to make sure that the oil reaches us. So Russia could be a backup. Recently, the price of crude oil has rocketed, with pricing at US $725, the last graphics please, per barrel, as seen on February 27th. And then it went up to 77.6 per barrel on March 2nd. So it's slowly climbing. If the spike in the dollars, with crude oil reaching $81 per barrel, and then there was a slight dip on March 4th, it went to $80.6 per barrel. Now, if that becomes 90, 100, it's going to impact our economy. So in this new world order, you need to read and watch a lot about what is happening on the ground. Because directly, indirectly, whether you're a household or running an industry, if this goes on for long, this could impact you. Let's debate.
The war is no more about the Middle East. Direct impact on global oil economy is visible. Strait of Hormuz stands blocked. Iran has declared it a war zone. Claiming complete control over critical oil choke points, Iran is now weaponizing energy trade. Any tanker aiming to pass through the strait stands on Tehran's target list. Global crude oil prices are bearing the brunt. Brent crude, the world's key oil benchmark, has climbed to over $80 per barrel. Global supply chains have taken a hit. Gulf states have been pulled in war. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain. Turkey claims Iran fired a ballistic missile towards it. And Iran is far from any regime change. Trump's stated objective.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Despite major blow to the leadership, the new likely supreme leader of Iran, late Ayatollah's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, is likely to take over. US now seems to be shifting goalpost. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says current conflict is not a regime change war.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
America's past record of carrying out regime change operations speaks for itself. From Panama in 1989 to Afghanistan in 2001, to Iraq in 2003, to Libya in 2011, America has considerable experience of trying to prop and remove regimes at will. But the success rate remains low and human cost high. During the Cold War alone, from 1947 to 1989, the US made 72 attempts to change the balance of power abroad, with a success rate of around 40%. Now, as energy crisis looms over the world, US stands to benefit with controlled oil, adequate supply via Venezuela. As the West stands divided, US's own allies have failed to find common ground. Spain, a NATO member, has evicted US military aircraft from its bases.
La posición del gobierno de España se resume en 4 palabras: no a la guerra. El mundo, Europa y España ya han estado aquí antes. Hace 23 años, otra administración estadounidense nos arrastró a una guerra en Oriente Medio.
Trump has threatened to cut off trade ties with Madrid.
Spain has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain.
While Canada called out USA for not consulting allies before the strikes.
Despite decades of UN Security Council resolutions, the tireless work of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and the succession of sanctions and diplomatic frameworks, Iran's nuclear threat remains. And now, the United States and Israel have acted without engaging the United Nations or consulting allies, including Canada.
UK has come out in US support only in a defensive mode.
The death of the supreme leader will not stop Iran from launching these strikes. Their approach is becoming even more reckless and more dangerous to civilians. Our decision that the UK would not be involved with the strikes on Iran was deliberate, not least because we believe that the best way forward for the region and for the world is a negotiated settlement.
The war has widened and almost certainly destroyed the old world order.
For our debate, I want to show you some visuals. They were supposed to be full-frame visuals. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, these are visuals that Republic Network has exclusively got from Sri Lanka. This is from the Galle National Hospital, where the injured Iranian sailors are being brought in. Now, this is precariously close to Indian waters. This is 373 kilometers from Kanyakumari on our southern tip. This is 40 nautical miles from Galle in Sri Lanka. There is a huge political debate in Sri Lanka about how America did this without any consultation. This is on the edge of Sri Lankan territorial waters, where an American submarine is torpedoed. The Iranian ship that was returning from Operation Milan, a multilateral exercise in the Indian port of Visakhapatnam, where it was a guest of the government of India in the Indian Navy. On its way back, this has been struck by an American submarine. And what you're seeing here are visuals of bodies of Iranian soldiers killed, which have been recovered, being brought to the National Hospital in Galle in the southern tip of Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a world exclusive. Remember, there's a lot of pressure not to show these pictures. There's a lot of pressure within Sri Lanka not to show these pictures because it is adding to an ongoing political debate in Sri Lanka about what the hell America is doing. And this is so precariously close to our waters as well. Can I run those pictures full frame, please, viewers? Thank you. Don't mix it up. So these are pictures. And again, I'll show you on a map where this happened. Most of the pictures taken out with a lot of secrecy. because the Sri Lankan government is not allowing all these visuals to be shot and to be broadcast. It is not being broadcast much on Sri Lankan networks, but the feeling is that America is acting with greater and greater impunity. Ladies and gentlemen, the West is divided. Spain is fighting America. Keir Starmer, the United Kingdom, is fighting America. We're told that Mujtaba Khamenei will be appointed the next Iranian supreme leader. There is no sign of a regime change. And that's the way things are. As of now, this Wednesday evening. And I would like to begin the debate by introducing Ajay Bagga, great macro voice from India, Einar Tangen from Beijing. Right? And we have Beta Gorka Winter from Warsaw in Poland. She's the international affairs expert. Richie Greenberg back from San Francisco tonight. Thank you. Dean Baxendale is author, publisher, and he's joining us from Canada. And we have Terry Newman, a strong voice from Israel. So the good thing about debates on a republic is, unlike the boring broadcasting corporation, we have every point of view represented. Ladies and gentlemen, now, Richie.
Right to me.
Again, question to you is that Trump said, when we are done with this, the people of Iran should take things back in their control. And this has been the sort of the very, sort of seductive call that he makes every day. The people of Iran aren't quite responding to him, are they?
Well, yes, first, thank you for having me on again today, Arnab. I wouldn't characterize how Trump speaks as being seductive. That's kind of a strange word to use to describe him. But as we know, all across the world, and especially over here in California, which is the largest number of diaspora Iranians since 1979 have moved here, and they are ecstatic here in Los Angeles, in other cities in the Bay Area around San Francisco. There is jubilation, there is hope, there is desire to have a free, democratic Iran once again that millions have wanted all the way since 1979. So what we see here, besides the fact that there is the conflict and skirmish and attacks and counterattacks, is the desire by Trump and others to have a way, a viable, meaningful way for those in Iran to rise up and take over in a democratic way. Now, of course, we know that is clearly not easy. It's not going to be done and has not been done in 48 hours. But also we know that there's an internet blackout, and so it's very limited information that's coming out of Iran at this point.
Richie, I think you're always looking at the sunny side for America, and that's great. It's very nice. But let me tell you, you ask any of those Iranians, if they continue to be Iranians, because I think most of them are American citizens, if you ask any of them to go back to Iran, which you call Iran, which Trump calls it Iran.
Iran.
He says Iran. You see, the thing is, he can't even pronounce the name properly. But my point is, how many of those Iranians will leave Los Angeles, San Diego, San Jose, San Francisco, Sacramento to go back to Iran? They won't. They'll carry the American flag, claim to be Iranians, and then go back to their day jobs. They are not going back to Iran. So they are not a good focus group for you. They're not the right focus group for you. But the more
yes and no, and it all depends on who they are. It depends on their status. It depends on their desire, and of course, I mean, this is not going to be tomorrow. If there's the complete democratic change, not necessarily Pahlavi, but
I understand. But my question here, am I right if I say, Dean, that the West is divided, more divided than one thought it would be? especially UK, Spain, and as this goes on for longer, even Canada.
Who are you asking?
Yes. My question to you is, are allies on different pages?
Listen, I think naturally...
If I may respond, of course
Who's
they are
responding here?
Can I get Dean to respond and come right back to you after that? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, listen, we're 4 days into the strike. We're taking out a barbaric terrorist regime that has sown disinformation and ultimately terrorist activities around the world, backed by China, ultimately by Russia, supplying drones, etc. I think the only reason why we see nations like England and Spain is because there's a very left-leaning government in both places. I don't think the West is divided. Mark Carney was very clear in India initially on how he supports the American strike to take out Iranians' nuclear capabilities and ultimately their terrorist ambitions. I think this is good for the world in the end, and I think that the West will unite around this over time once we see the impact of this for Iran. And I do believe the 40,000 Iranians that were slaughtered by the regime in January, that is who America is speaking up for. And yes, I do believe that once the decks are cleared, that Iranians inside Iran and outside the diaspora communities around the world will unite around a free and democratic Iran.
Okay, so you wanted to come in, I think, Tivo, and Beta Gorka wanted to also come in. Which one of you would like to come in first?
Yes, sure.
Beta, yeah.
As for the point you made that over time European countries will also join in the support from free and democratic Iran, that's for sure. But the problem is how to get to this point, because I'm from Poland and I cannot see anything by chaos now. We also faced a lot of American interventions in the Middle East. We saw these interventions in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and we, as Europe, which was drawn into this conflict as well, because it's not only American thing, we were deeply engaged in all these places for 2 decades with a very, very mediocre results. So here we have like kind of a deja vu. Because we have 4 days of strikes. We have decapitating of the most renowned political and military figures. But I cannot see the change of the regime, which we of course support, because this is no unquestionable how bad it was. But the question remains how we are going to get to this point with 90 million country, which is not represented by the diaspora from California. That's for sure. Many people still support this regime. Many people are still mourning over Khamenei death. So it's much more complicated assuming that just after several strikes, Iranian would hit the street, take over, and we will have a blossoming democracy, another blossoming democracy in the Middle East. We are afraid that in spite of that, we will have chaos for the next decade. Thank you.
Which side is stopping the end to the war? I want Einar and Terry to come in, because the way I look at it, Terry, we want an end to this war. I began the program by giving the statistics of if this goes on for more than a month, then we will be in a terrible situation, all of us, especially in Asia, which depends on the Straits of Hormuz being opened up. Now, who is not letting the war end? Which
I think
side
we're
is
living in the...
Terry.
Yeah, so we are living in the TikTok generation where we expect immediate answers, or we just move on. Yeah, we're 72 hours into this. The top political and military echelons of the Iranian regime have been removed. Iran is so panicked at the moment that it's making the mistakes of firing at all its allies in the region. It's been firing, as you know, at Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, even Oman, who was one of the middleman who was, trying to facilitate conversations and talks between the Americans and the Iranians. I expect this will be over fairly soon. I expect there to be chaos in the process, but it will take two-three weeks.
What would fairly soon mean? Because if I were to look at this a little more cynically than you, on the timeline of the war, Terry, on the 28th of February, Donald J. Trump says it could last 2 days or maybe 3 days. On the 1st of March, he said it could go on for 4 weeks. On the night of the 1st of March, he says it could go on longer than 5 weeks.
So Donald Trump is not renowned for being consistent in what he says.
But he happens to be the president of the United States.
He is. I cannot be responsible for what he says. But what I can say is that if you look at previous wars, to take out what has been taken out in the first 72 hours, that normally took years, certainly months, and in many cases years. And I think that you will give this a couple of weeks. And then the people inside of Iran, it is, at the end of the day, the foot soldiers in this war will be the Iranians themselves. I cannot see the Americans
what if that assumption what if that assumption proves to be incorrect?
Then the world is still in a better place.
Oh, it's not. No, I argue it's... So, one minute. See, the difference is, Terry, and I'm a great supporter of Israel and Israel's strategic right to defend itself. You know that I was one of the strongest, we were strongest in the network in supporting you after the October 7th attacks. But, you see, this is not Russia, Ukraine. This is about global chokehold, supply chains. This is not a 2 or 3 country war. Everybody gets involved. And you are talking about, for example, the largest, most populous country in the world, the Republic of India, with all our oil reserves, we have maybe 5 to 6 weeks, right, Ajay? So if it goes on for more than a month, I just want to give Ajay's view for briefly. If a country the size, scale, and economic stability of India, what would our concern be? Then how much worse would it be for smaller, more fragile countries? Ajay, could you explain what our concern would be?
Yeah, see, overall, this is not about American values. It is about demonstrating American power. If you look at Venezuela, they spirited out the president. The very corrupt, very criminal regime is very much there. It's supplying oil to the US, so it stays on. Same with Iran. You might have decapitated the top echelons, but there are at least 4 succession posts that are there because Iran has been preparing for this for decades on end. So it's that regime is not going away. And if you were really concerned about American values, why aren't you looking at Pakistan, which is a radically Islamist country which breaks all rules of the world and which is nuclear? Why did you get out of Afghanistan after making a mess for 20 years? What did you create in Iraq? What have you done to Libya, which is divided into 2 now, and still it does not produce the oil that it used to produce in Gaddafi's time? What democracy have you really created? So the record is very patchy. This administration is not about American values. They're talking about American power. The language that they use is about American power. The Secretary of Defense was online just a few minutes back, and he was lauding the shooting down of the Iranian ship. Were those soldiers given a chance to surrender? Were they given a chance to life before a submarine just extinguished their lives? We don't know. The third big thing is what you have done. You have put at risk your staunchest allies who have allowed bases. There are 19 American bases in the Middle East. All those bases are under fire. They don't have means to protect themselves because their model was, we will produce oil, we will sell it to the world in dollars. Those dollars will go to America. For that, you give us protection. And for that protection, come and take over bases. 60,000 Americans are sitting in the Middle East now. You have not given them a chance. They were very clear, we will not allow our territories to attack Iran because we will get attacked in turn. Now that they are being attacked, you don't have the interceptors in place, and you put the global economy at risk, Arnab.
My only point is that, sorry to intervene,
yes.
Am I right if I say here, and before I come to you, Einar, I'd like to go across just for one view to Helsinki, where I'm joined by the professor of world politics at the University of Helsinki, the very respected Teivo Teivainen. I hope I've got the name right, ma'am. Professor Teivainen, how does Finland look at this? Is there some amount of skepticism there? What is the growing view of Finland?
There's a lot of confusion here, like the way divided in the sense that.
Ma'am, sorry, I have an audio problem. One sec. I'll just fix the audio with your line. I'm getting a clear video, but the audio is not clear. So can you hear me? No, I'll have to fix the audio there. In the meantime, I go to Einar on this. Please fix the audio with Ms. Teivainen. Einar, how is China so placid in this? You know, this China and India, Asia is the most affected if the chokehold continues. Pressure will have to be increased to end this.
Reasons that they, it's inability.
Louder, please, Pradeep.
I'm sorry, China's.
I can't hear. 1 minute, just 1 minute. Pradeep, can I have the audio up? Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay.
Now I can.
China's ability to wage a war overseas is basically none. They have participated in peacekeeping missions, but they are set up for defense, not offense. You don't see them running around the world creating wars or anything like that. It would be almost impossible for them to mount an expedition to go into the Middle East. So that's not on the cards. Now, if I may make a comment, some factual things. 1973, OPEC is formed. They take 7% of the world's oil off the market. It results in the price of oil going up 4 times, 400%. You then go to 79, the original Iranian Revolution. You had less than 5% of the world's oil taken offline. That resulted in a doubling of the price of oil. Then you go to the Russian-Ukraine situation, and you also have a doubling of the price of oil. The fact is, oil is not an elastic material resource. It is something that if you have to run your trucks or your planes, etc., you need it. 20% of the world's oil is at stake here. And if that goes through, it's setting fire to the global economy. I'm tired of hearing this broken record that many of my colleagues on this panel are using. It's the same one they used in Libya. It's the same one they used in Iraq. I would think that this time they would be ashamed of trying to repeat this kind of nonsense. Oh, it'll be over in a few days. Oh, they'll welcome us. They'll be throwing flowers at us. We heard all of this stuff before, and they turned into forever wars, broken countries, increased terrorism.
Everyone on.
But this time, they are really, I mean, those were, conflicts which involved smaller regions. Now we're talking about the whole world. The world cannot get a buy on 20% less oil. Think of countries that don't have resources, that have US dollar loans. They're going to be massacred. How about India, as you have been pointing out? If India is an ally of the US, if it's going to be a staunch part of the future of the US, why don't they care? Why wasn't there any kind of, calculation made about what this would do to Europe, what this would do to South America, which the US says is now in their territory, Africa, Southeast Asia. It's not just China that we're talking about here. We're talking about the entire globe and an administration that is so inept that they're running around trying to do anything necessary to avoid scrutiny over the Epstein files or the fact that it's
Epstein files.
No,
Yes.
no, no.
Well, you
no,
heard
no.
Massey talk
No,
about
don't
it.
bring
He
that
said,
up
you know,
again.
Why are you bringing up
You
Epstein?
bring it
For
up
1 minute,
again.
Einar,
You
I have
Why-
Dean and
not
Richie both
again.
responding. Yes,
You
yes.
don't
Who
wanna-
goes first?
You don't want to
Richie.
get into that? How about the 50
Richie,
pages that have disappeared
it's
accusing Donald
absolutely
Trump of
ridiculous.
1 minute,
being
Einar,
13-year-old?
Richie responding to you, Richie.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. And to hear that brought up, and it's been the last couple of days, yesterday as well, it is completely irrelevant, has nothing to do with the administration, nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with any kind of distraction. There's already hearings. I'm hoping that you've been watching on TV and elsewhere to see what the results are. Trump had no problem. He actually wanted the Epstein files to be exposed, and you're acting as if it wasn't. You're acting as if he's not
No
been
one here
exonerated.
believes you, not
You're
even
acting
you.
you're acting as if the Clintons weren't just deposed, and Bill Clinton himself said that there's no connection, that Trump has nothing to do with this. So,
Richie,
so we're hearing
Richie,
this is
Richie,
this is an irrelevant
Richie,
talking
if I may,
point.
Richie and Einar, if I may, I know this
Yes or no?
Epstein reference is always very volcanic, but however, let me ask you this: there has to be some element of honesty from America in terms of this incident, this conflict, because there has to be some answerability to the world. Dean, our concern is, or rather our network's concern is, that on the 28th of February, Trump with a straight face says that we were going to be attacked by Iran, which was going to have a nuclear bomb and throw the nuclear bomb through intercontinental missiles at us, pierce through our air defenses, and attack and kill American people. This is the version that he gave out on the 28th of February, Dean. Then, on Sunday, the Pentagon tells the Congress this is rubbish. There is absolutely no sign that Iran was ever going to attack America first. Now, do we believe the Pentagon or do we believe Trump? And if the answer is it's none of your business, it's America's business, then one would say, no, it is our business. This is impacting our people. This war will impact all of us. Dean?
Sure, it's impacting the whole world, but I think you have to go back to late October, early November, and look at the U.S. The National Defense Strategy, and look at what America had said within that document. It's very clear that this is all playing out. The chessboard is being played out. Took out Venezuela. You took out a cartel leader in Mexico. You're taking out Iran and its terrorist activities, their involvement with transnational organized crime, as well as the Chinese Communist Party's triad and PLA operations globally, are playing out here. Iran is the biggest backer of terrorism. They've been supplying drones to kill Europeans, Ukrainians. Let's look at this for what it is. And America just yesterday, and Donald Trump, actually said we are going to ensure that the oil gets through the Strait, and they are backing the insurance, and which is dropping the price for tankers and insurance for it. This is part of a strategy. You guys need to wake up and understand that there's a real war. It's been going on for years, and quite frankly, India and others have been aiding and abetting the war against the West and undermining it. But we'll see how this plays out. I think at the end of the day, the Pentagon, in terms of their approach, tactical and strategic, in terms of neutering the Iranian regime's ability to put a tactical nuclear device in play, which, by the way, during the negotiations, they made it very clear to Kushner and the main negotiator that they had 60% enriched uranium, that they could get to 90%, and they could deliver 13 nuclear warheads. That's their opening position? Come on, let's be real. These are real radical people. And India and the rest of the world are going to be quite happy in the end, because there will be a safe supply for oil. Commerce will boom. The price of oil is going to drop significantly over the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and the world will be a better place for it.
Like the world will be a better place, like you made in Afghanistan, like what you're doing
Vietnam,
like what you did in Libya. You will leave the world a better place. Yeah, and if you're talking about democracy, the elected prime minister of Pakistan is sitting in jail, while the military, which comes and kisses up to Trump in White House, they are running the country with a nuclear bomb. that you are not bothered. You said that last year you took up the nuclear abilities of Iran. So what did you do last year? If again this year you have to come back. So you were lying last year or you're lying right now. What are you doing about Afghanistan? 20 years you sat here, wasted billions of dollars, and you have left it to radical Islamists to rule over that population. Your hearts are bleeding for the Iranian people. Why don't they bleed for the Afghanis, for the Pakistanis, where a military rule is there and an elected prime minister is in jail, and those military people are running around with nuclear weapons? If you are bothered about nuclear weapons in this region, why aren't you stopping Pakistan? You are kissing up to them because they went and paid off your politicians.
Well, first of all, I'm Canadian, so I don't know what, and I'm not sure exactly the relevance to this debate or this subject right now, because we're talking about the Middle East, we're talking about the Hormuz Strait, we're talking about bringing oil to market, we're talking about decapitating Ayatollah and a radical regime.
You said Indians are padding up and benefiting from this Iranian regime. I was reacting to that. And I'm reacting again to the American power which is being displayed. It's not about American values. If it was about American values, you would be getting democracy in Pakistan, democracy in Afghanistan. Libya would be in a better place. Syria would not be ruled by an ex-ISIS.
See, the fact is that let's
Can I come in, please?
Let's be Burzin, just coming to you. As of now tonight, see, we did not expect this. Burzin and Terry. Today is Wednesday, right? The 5th day, right? And we are reminded of what Marco Rubio said, that Iran has a manufacturing ability to produce all of these offensive weapons very fast and very cheap. And they said 100 missiles can be made in a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have. So they've been under sanctions for a long time, and they have this ability. Now we have to understand from you, Burzin, what happens to the regime change, which was widely anticipated by many Iran observers, including you. And there was sense you had that there would be a turnaround among the people. Now, there are a lot of people on the ground, Chinese networks, others are on the ground, Indian networks. That is not the sense one is getting on the ground. So what's happening within the Iranian establishment while this war goes on, Burzin?
I'll tell you what's happening, Arnab. Iran's largest vessel, IRINS Makran, is ablaze, and practically most of the naval fleet is destroyed from Bandar Abbas and Shahid Rajai port. That is part of the brilliant campaign, and as you said, we're only in the 5th day. Not to mention the Sri Lankan frigate, Iranian frigate of Colombo. So yes, things are going. You need to hold your horses. This is only the 5th day. Point number 1. Point number 2, may I, coming from Iranian studies, point out to all, for the umpteenth time, I'm sick to the back of my teeth hearing about Iraq 2003, because Iran is a nation state. Iraq is a line in the sand since 1922, flimsy just like Syria from 1943. The analogies simply are strained and do not hold. Point number 3, GCC banks, and we're talking about economics and the Strait of Hormuz here. Fitch Rating has just released a report yesterday. GCC regimes and banks are perfectly fine with ample liquidity and strategic buffer and asset stocks if the war continues for a month. So there is no question of these regimes toppling or anything. And speaking of these governments, Iran has utterly and foolishly backfired by drawing them into this ring of fire by attacking them, because if anything, they've gone and stiffened Trump's spine when Abu Dhabi and Riyadh have told him to continue and press on. That is not being put out in public, but I'm telling you, coming from Middle East studies. And yes, there's so much confusion over Secretary Rubio's comments about the nuke. Let's go back to 1st June 2025, Arnab, when the provisional IAEA report was released of the 448.9 kilos enriched uranium of 60%. Yes, theoretically, it is not weapons grade since it has to be cranked up to 90%. But the report, and these are physicists who said that the window was down to 0% for Iran to enrich. So the ability to make 10 bombs was already there on 1st June 2025, which explains why the war went on.
Please, where is the moral? Where is the moral argument here, Burzin?
For what?
Let me explain. Let me come in for a minute.
Which moral argument? Which moral one?
May I complete what I'm saying? See, Burzin, I understand where you're coming from. However, you must remember that American President Donald Trump in his first term traveled all the way to meet the North Korean dictator in Singapore, got a picture
and no
taken,
deal occurred.
Got a picture taken and said he's such a wonderful guy. He's a strong man, he's a great guy, we need more people like him. So may I request you not to put the democracy and freedom argument anymore at us?
Which I'm not doing.
You know, indirectly this argument is. No, all these.
Iran has re-engineered missiles with lighter material, longer payloads,
and North Korea is not sitting on trampolines. May I tell you?
Sorry?
North Korea has more than trampolines.
Yes, but who's pulling the? But it's not
about
China
the safety of the American.
No, but Iran is doing that.
It's about the oil.
Iran is attacking all its neighbors to draw them into a war, and it has backfired because they have not gone to Trump asking him to come back. May I
see Beta and Trivo. We have no bone in this fight. We really want this to end, but somewhere I believe that someone's got to take the initiative, right? I mean. If you don't, in 1 month from now, we will be in global shock.
No.
40 days from now, we'll go into septic shock. 50 days from now, the world will be in the ICU. 2 months from now, the world will be on a ventilator.
No.
And then we won't be sitting here having these academic debates. It's serious, you're not understanding it. This will impact us all. Won't it, Beta? Won't it?
Yeah, excuse me, that was a question for me.
Yeah, you can take that.
Yes, well, we are very concerned about oil prices, about gas. We have some supplies stored, but prices are already went up. Yes, both gas and oil. So I do agree with you here that this is what we need to be concerned about, and it's not only about us. It's only about Gulf states. We are afraid, and we are really afraid that Iran, in retaliation, will also harm a lot of other infrastructure, because it's not only about gas and oil, but it's also about tourism, people from Poland, Polish citizens, as well as other European citizens are still stuck in the Gulf states. Both tourists and workers, we need to evacuate them, but you know how difficult it is to evacuate people under the bombs, yes?
No, so I do, but now Professor Tivanen, can I get her in, because the audio was bad last time? Professor Tivanen, my question to you last was, what was the view of Finland? But may I broad base that? How do you see this ending? Do you see this ending? Should some external intervention, some clandestine diplomacy happen right now?
Of course, we all hope, I guess, that diplomacy will find a way to end it. I don't think there will be a regime change without boots on the ground, and I don't see Donald Trump willing to risk electoral futures by putting boots on the ground. So one possibility is Iran will be very, very weakened, destroyed in many ways. But the question of whether it makes sense to think that the likely outcome is change, I don't see that as the most likely thing. Another thing is what this means for the future of global governance, in the sense when legality has been destroyed, in the sense where there's not even an attempt to justify this attack in similarly legal ways as happened, let's say 2003, and other times when the US and many other countries and Russia have violated international law in many occasions. And but I think one likely endgame is that simply it will wear out. The US will decide that, okay, we've weakened Iran enough, even if we can't get regime change, it's time to pack our things, hope that no more American soldiers are dying, and will be able to claim victory. So that's one very possible.
But will that be the victory that America seeks, Terry, or Israel seeks? If Iran is hammered, it becomes weaker, but there's no regime change, there's a new supreme commander.
But if they have to choose that they put boots on the ground, Israel cannot put boots on the ground very easily. And the United States is probably not willing. If
you don't have to put boots on the ground for change in Iran. That's the thing. You don't need boots on the ground for change in Iran. People don't understand Iran. That's the problem. And that's where I'm coming from in Iranian studies. This is a resilient society. And for example, people mentioning about Libya again, if you follow Persian networks and actually read Persian, you would see the celebratory noises around Tehran as Khamenei's death was announced. So please get those basic facts right. That is number one. Number two, you don't need boots on the ground. And talking about international law to my Finnish colleague, forget boots on the ground, Professor. Prime Minister Cameron lost the 2013 vote for a mere chemical factory strike against Assad's monstrous machine that was decimating Syrians. Again, because of the so-called trauma that liberals in the West suffer for Iraq. We could not forget boots. We could not have the vote, the sheer gumption to bomb a chemical factory. And then by 2016, we came to realize it, and how many more Syrians would have been alive today if we had taken it out there.
If I were to fast forward this, and if we were saying all these things on the 5th of...
Counterfactuals are not counterintuitive.
No. If I would say this on the 5th of April, Terry.
Of which year?
Yeah, so
on the 5th of April.
Let's go to the 5th of April. India is a true ally and a true friend of Israel and a true ally and friend of the West. Your colleagues have asked about Pakistan and North Korea. The reason why Western countries have to put up with them and what they do is because they are nuclear countries. Right? If they were not nuclear countries, I can tell you the West would operate very differently with North Korea and very differently with Pakistan. And the reason why this is happening now is to prevent Iran from going nuclear. And all of this nonsense about, 1970s oil crisis and it happening again, all of OPEC was together in this against the world. This is not the case.
Terry, my question would be...
Terry. Right, OPEC is not with Iran.
Terry, I just say this. Suppose, Terry, you and I are sitting down and all of us come together on the 5th of April and the situation is exactly the same. America continues to hammer Iran. Iran continues to hit back here and there. It's weaker.
And its results will deplete at a point. They're only down to 5,000 now.
Arnab, you are a wise man. We are 4 or 5 days into this, and you are already seeing the ruptures that are happening. So I'm happy to join you for a scotch wherever you want on the 5th of April, and we can go through this together. But you will see that the world will change considerably over the next 3-4 weeks. There are 80 million boots on the ground in Iran that want to change this. Of a population of 90-odd million in the last election, I think it was 11 or 12% voted. Nearly 90% stayed at home in disgust.
I love the talk points, boys. Take them back to Washington.
The besieged are shooting into apartments where they are hearing people singing. You must see this stuff.
Exactly.
Can you? Yes, I love the talk points. It's wonderful. The difference, what Iran is doing, quite simply, is what Arnab is talking about. The only weapon they have, they can't respond toe-to-toe with the United States. They're going to use the economic weapon, and that means closing the Straits of Hormuz. And the U.S., despite all this stuff about we'll have ships running through there with protection convoys and stuff like that, they'd be shooting ducks. So, I mean, this is what they're going to do. And in April, we will be here at the same time. You can have all the bravado you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just feel
people haven't died. But the fact is, you will be responsible.
Ladies and gentlemen, this I wish to share with you. I don't know about boots on the ground. but our network, the Republic Media Network, has boots on the ground in every nation impacted by this. I'm also proud to say we're the only network which brings together voices from all over, the United States, the United Kingdom, from India, from China, today from Canada, from Israel, of course, and from Iran and Turkey as well. And ladies and gentlemen, let's hope we don't have to wait a month to bring this panel back. Only for